Okay. Well, good afternoon, everybody, and thank you again for joining me in this March 24th for one of my open forums, which was initially scheduled for next week, but because of spring break, we've moved it today. And as you may notice, the time is not the same. It's at 3:30. That was because we already had interviews scheduled for some of the hirings that are happening right now. Uh, Again, as you know, I've been doing this forum ever since my first month here in July of last year, because I think it is important that I get an opportunity to meet with all of you and share with you some of the things that are happening at the college. And it also gives you an opportunity to ask me questions. And if I have the answer, I'll give them to you. Otherwise, the senior staff, the vice chancellors, and the deputy chancellor will provide you with the answer. I want to start with some exciting news about facilities. You know, the Diego Rivera Theater, formerly the Performing Arts and Educational Center, that building has been in the pipeline from 2005. There have been people working on that building, designers and so on from 2005 have been working on that building. To date, we have spent $12.5 million on design, multiple designs of various sizes for the building. And between October of 19 and December of last year, I believe another $1.4 million was spent on that. And for whatever it is worth, you do realize that last year we had separated from the builder, and we immediately started working on bringing in a new team to finish this project as quickly as possible. The college has made a commitment, the board has made a commitment, the district has made a commitment to get this project underway. Regardless of who was in charge of the building, the earliest the drawings would have been sent to DSA for approval would have been December of this year. We're going to be behind by about 5-6 months because now the design will reach DSA in the spring of next year with groundbreaking slated for the spring of 23. And as we've said before, an opening in 26, spring of 26. And there was never any case, any time that that building was going to be open in 23. We had last week the RFQs, the request for qualifications went out, and there was a special meeting of people that were interested, builders and designers that were interested in participating, and 25 respondents attended the meeting that was conducted by college staff under the leadership of Associate Vice Chancellor Alberto Vasquez. There were 25 people that showed up. There were builders, as I said, and designers. The deadline to submit their request is the 29th, and we're looking forward to selecting a builder designer team before June of this year. Of course, the whole college will be involved in that. I mean, we have the facilities team and the various teams will be involved in this process. A COVID update, as you know, yesterday the mayor declared that today, effective today, San Francisco is in the orange tier. And that's a less restrictive tier, as all of you know. But that tier is not going to make any major changes in what we are doing at the college. Of course, you've heard the latest CDC guidance. You've heard inside occupancy rate, which can be up to about 50%, as long as significant social distancing is taking place. And we will be working on that in a little while. I'm going to be asking Vice Chancellor Tom Bogle to give you an update as to where we are, how we are going to finish spring semester and what we're doing for summer and what we will be doing for the fall semester. I just want to let all of you know that I have instructed administration to start showing up on campus, and effective April 12th, all administrators, effective April 12th, all administrators will be on campus a minimum of 3 days a week. And I myself will be on campus daily, effective April 5, immediately after the spring break. Vice Chancellor Bogle, is there anything you would want to share with us as to what we're doing for spring, summer, and fall?
Thank you so much, Chancellor. Since the time of the last open forum, we've had two different updates from San Francisco Department of Public Health in terms of their guidance for institutes of higher education. Once at the beginning of March when we've transitioned from purple into red, and then one yesterday as we transitioned from red into orange. Their updated guidance expands what we're able to do in terms of in-person instruction, but still requires some social distancing requirements. We had already been planning on bringing back some in-person instruction in a few areas this spring, in chemistry and biotech, and in a couple of areas in the art department. And we should have those classes up and running right after spring break. We are still planning on a mostly remote summer and fall, but we do anticipate being able to bring back even more expanded in-person instruction and student services for the fall. For instruction, we're prioritizing classes where students would normally engage in hands-on learning, and we'll have specifics of those classes available when we go live with the fall schedule later. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Vice Chancellor Bogle. I'll move on now to the budget, and in a little while, I'm going to ask Vice Chancellor John Al-Amin to give you an update as to where we are. You've seen the audit report that came out, and the opinion is not very favorable for the college. In fact, for 2 years in a row, that is 18-19 and 19-20, the opinion is the same. It's a going concern. We have major issues with reserves and with deficit spending. The picture does not look that bright. And as we are working on preparing a tentative budget for 21-22, as Vice Chancellor Al-Amin will tell you in a little while, in the best case scenario, we are looking at a deficit of close to $23 million. And in the worst case scenario, that number could be as high as $30+ million. Last year, to cover the deficit for 19-20 and 2021, we could take out money from the retiree trust fund. And we did take close to $21 million out. But that luxury is not available to the college anymore. So serious considerations will have to be given as to what is next. I have asked Vice Chancellor Al-Amin to be as transparent as possible and to go out and meet with the college community and share their information. I do not believe in hiding anything. I do not believe in keeping any information under wraps. I have always believed in openness and sharing all the information. I've built my whole career on that. And I'm going to ask Vice Chancellor Al-Amin to be out in the community. We have 2 meetings that have been set up already. 2, if you want, 2 tours, 2 forums, 2 meetings that he is holding to share with the community where we are and to also seek input. Those 2 meetings will take place on April 7 at 1 p.m. and April 13 at 4:30 p.m. And if there is need to have more meetings to go over the budget, he would gladly consider adding additional meetings. Vice Chancellor Al-Amin, is there anything you want to share about the budget?
Thank you, Chancellor Vurdien. As the Chancellor has pointed out, the Budget Committee met yesterday to discuss some of the parameters for of the estimates for where our budget shortfalls are predicted for the next fiscal year. We also are in the process now of working to put together budget priorities to help guide the college in developing its budget plan for next year. So hopefully by the time we meet in April, we will have a clear picture as to what our top priorities are. And as we begin assembling the budget for the individual units, we will use those priorities as a guideline for how funding should be allocated out amongst the various units of the college. As the Chancellor pointed out during our budget forums, we hope them not only to be informative about our budget plans for next year, but also to walk everyone through how our funding is generated, to deal with some lingering questions about use of different HERF monies and other grant funds which are being made available for one-time emergency use. So we hope to be as, again, as transparent and as comprehensive as possible to kind of not only educate, but bring everyone in this with us together as we begin and prepare for a new embarking of budget and financial stability, transparency, openness, and more importantly, having balanced budgets to help guide the college in the operations that we need in order to serve our community. So we'll be working to share that information with you in April, and looking forward to meeting with each and every one of you to answer your questions, and as we work together to get through this situation. Thank you, Chancellor.
Thank you, Vice Chancellor Alamin. And Vice Chancellor Alamin mentioned the HERF funding. As you know, we've received the third, well, we have not received, but we know how much the third HERF is going to be, close to $28.9 million for the college. At least 14.5 million must go in direct student aid. And I want to reassure all of you, I have heard what you've said about the spending of that money. We put together a team with Vice Chancellor Alamin and the department chairs who invited faculty to participate in that. And we had some student contribution to it too, as to what is the best way to spend the money for the college. We've also heard what you've been saying about adding online classes and so on. I made it a point to personally verify with other college CEOs, presidents, and chancellors. And I asked our legal firm to give us an opinion after reviewing the criteria set forward by her. And I can assure you that the way we are spending the money, working with all of you, is the way that is allowable. We are not doing anything that will get us in trouble. We are following all the criteria, and we are spending it the way the money is to be spent. Next item I have on to share with you is about the student affairs wellness successes this semester. We've distributed recently 526 food cards to students. We have mental health Mondays. We have a wellness recovery action plan where we're accepting students for group therapy. We are doing everything, working with Vice Chancellor Dr. Lisa Cooper Wilkins. And please, Dr. Wilkins, would you share some of the other things we're doing in student services to support our students these difficult times?
Thank you, Chancellor Vurdien. Yes, I appreciate you highlighting the food card program, and it is not too late for students who have not yet received food cards to apply for those through the various special programs. So those would be the $50 Safeway gift cards that are being distributed to students. Also, a number of the resource centers are collaborating to provide those self-care and mental health types of workshops. So there is Recently, the Family Resource Center conducted a self-care workshop for students, and beginning, or it just started actually on March 23rd, music and movement workshop sessions, a series for student parents. Their children are welcome, will also be available to our students. And the various, again, you mentioned those, the mental health groups continue to meet to help provide support to our students as well. So those are a number of things that we're continuing to try to do to address students' needs, basic needs, and other needs during these really difficult times. So I appreciate Dean Noah Livestrip and his team and the work that they're doing to make those things available.
Thank you, Vice Chancellor Wilkins. As you know, next week is spring break, and after that, the semester will be nearing its end very quickly. We will be holding commencement for the students graduating this year, and also for the students who graduated last year. There will be a virtual commencement, and the college staff are working on putting that together. We are working very diligently to secure a commencement speaker, and we want to recognize the hard work of all our faculty and staff who have stepped up to the plate to ensure that our students get the best education they can get at CCSF, and also to honor our students for what they have gone through and are going through so that they can reach their goal of graduating, those who are going to graduate so that they can reach that goal. And we will recognize them. And we will also recognize the other students, the thousands of other students who are here for other reasons, whether it is to learn English, whether it is to acquire a trade, whether it is to take other types of classes that they need to take. Is there anything else we need to add here, Vice Chancellor Wilkins?
So there's going to be a call for nominations or recommendations for a commencement speaker sent out campus-wide, and we hope that you will all take an opportunity to consider somebody who will be inspiring to our students to hear their brief story at our virtual commencement. So please take an opportunity to complete that very, very short nomination request form once you see that in your inbox.
Okay. Thank you. I also want to address the issue of registration at CCSF. We've heard a lot of complaints about registration at CCSF, and staff worked on it last fall semester, and this spring, the number of complaints had significantly gone down. I have asked IT to make this a priority and to ensure that before the end of April, the registration issues are taken care of. IT has met with teams from other districts to see what it is that they have done for their registration process to be easier, simpler, and more seamless than ours. I am not sure whether they've been able to identify everything, but they've assured me that before the end of April, our system will be significantly better. There are some issues that they are looking at right now, and by the 31st of March, the testing will probably be completed. And then over the month of April, they're going to fine-tune it so that our students and our faculty that use that system will find it easier and simpler to use. I also have great news for everybody who uses our registration system. On April 10th, we are going to launch an automated chat feature on our website. And that feature is going to be loaded with a huge number of questions that can be answered by the automated chat. And students will then be sent to a live chat following that if the problem cannot be resolved through the automated process. So let's hope that this interactive experience for our students is a successful one. And on behalf of the college, I do apologize to you for what you've gone through over the years. It is not normal that we go through this. Another piece of good news is the Northern California chapter of the Society of Professional Journalists will present the Beverly Keys Journalism Educator of the Year Award to one of our very own, Juan Gonzalez. And I hope you can check our social media channels to join when that event takes place. So these are some of the things that I had to share with you. And I will be delighted to field your questions if you have any. And if I can, my staff here with Deputy Chancellor Gonzalez and the Vice Chancellors will do our best to provide you with the answers. Sean?
All right, thank you, Chancellor Vurdien. For those in the audience that would like to ask a question of the Chancellor, please go ahead and click on the raise hand icon. We'll get you in the queue and we'll see if we can get your question answered here. So our first person up is Joey Nelson. Joey, go ahead.
Hi, thank you for taking my question, Chancellor. I'd love to know what you personally, as well as the Board of Trustees and other chancellors, are doing to find additional sustainable funding to preserve our classes and prevent the massive layoff of the incredibly experienced staff who create and support the classes and programs that make City College of San Francisco the place of community learning that it is.
Well, I've been here for less than a year. I inherited a problem that has been going on for many, many years. The college does not have money right now at all to balance the budget. I just showed you that the college is short, in the best case scenario, $23 billion for the academic year 21-22. In the worst case scenario, $30 million. I've been here for about 8 months, going on 9 months. I've tried to do everything I can to stabilize the institution, to get a balanced budget for 2021. And I'm gone. I only have 3 months left, 3 months and 7 days. So there's not much I can do. And there is not much the college itself can do to find funding that will be ongoing to support the institution. Bear in mind that currently the institution is on hold harmless, which means that the college is being funded on 22,200 full-time equivalent students. That's what the college is receiving money on. But the college over the past 3 years has declined in enrollment from 19,000 to 18,000 to 17,000, which means that if the college was funded on its enrollment itself, it will have another $15 million less to balance the budget. 3 years ago, the college added sections in the hope that they would have students. They did an outreach campaign. They ended the year with 50 full-time equivalent students fewer. Whatever funding the college needs to get will have to be ongoing funding, which means that this amount of money needs to be coming every year. You will need to find a donor. You will need to find a system. You will need to find a government that will give an additional $25 billion every year on top of the current whole harvest funding based on 22,000 students. So that's where we are. It's not a matter of going out and finding funding. Okay. It's a matter of doing a structural change to the institution. That's all I can say to you.
All right, next up we have Wynn. Wynn, go ahead. You can unmute yourself now.
Hi, first of all, I'm wondering if you could give the information about the presentations that John Elamine is scheduled for in April. I didn't catch the exact dates and times.
Okay,
But
let me give you this one first. Okay, so he is going to be talking about the budget, how the college prepares its budget,
Right.
what are the assumptions that are used, the various parts of money that we have to cover all the expenditures that the college has. That will be on Wednesday, April 7th at 1 p.m. and Tuesday, April 13th at 4:30 p.m. And also tomorrow at the board meeting, he will provide two reports. You may have seen those reports already in the documents attached with the board agenda.
Okay, thank you so much. I actually have an announcement and also a question for you.
Yes.
And the announcement is that today at 5 o'clock, Rebuild City College will be having its own forum on the budget, partnering with the Faculty Association of California Community Colleges.
Mm-hmm.
If people would like me to send the link, they can email me at my address, wkaufman, Kaufmyn, @ccsf.edu. The question I have for you, Dr. Vurdien, is that the union, in conjunction with the administration, has gone after funding from the city. We were actually seeking up to $30 million of funding, ongoing funding every year. It was called the CHEF.
Mm-hmm.
The pandemic basically, blew that up. Actually, it was then called the WRF because it changed its names and so forth. But there was also an attempt to get some bridge funding to prevent the layoffs, the class cuts that happened in November, on the eve of registration in November 2019. And then Chancellor Rocha basically sabotaged it by writing to the supervisor saying, no, we don't need it. So what I'm asking is if you, even in your last 3 months, can do a dedicated effort to work with the union to go after needed money from the city, which is, City College of San Francisco is arguably the most important, beloved institution in San Francisco. The city needs to support it. And as the chancellor, I would ask you to convince, to join in that campaign to do that. What do you say?
I mean, I will do whatever is necessary for me to do. But we have to, you were talking about the funding from the city. I was looking at the amount of money we were getting from the city. There was the parcel tax, there was the sales tax and all that. At one point, it was close to $42 million. Okay. And then that money started dropping to 23 million. And the last I saw, it was down to about $3 million now. Okay. Now, you were talking of the WRF funding. The WRF funding comes with, that's categorical money. It comes with strings attached. It's not the unrestricted general fund. Okay. I am willing to send a request to the city. I don't have any problem sending a request to the city asking for unrestricted fund to balance the budget and pay the salaries of faculty and staff.
I know that the union is working to get money that will stop the class cuts and the layoffs. Whether it goes into the unrestricted or categorical, I'm not sure it really matters. What I'm asking is that you and the Board of Trustees work with AFT 2121 and any other community partners that really want to keep City College a community college that serves our communities.
That is, I will bring it, I can bring it to the attention of the Board of Trustees. But I mean, before the board does anything, the board will have to know exactly what are the parameters.
I just keep hearing resistance.
No, there is no resistance at all.
Okay,
There's no resistance here.
Great.
But we need to know exactly what it is that we are asking. Okay, just saying that we're going to the cities and we're asking for this amount of money.
We're asking
We need
for
to know
money
exactly
to keep
what
the
we're asking.
programs, to keep the programs that the state doesn't want to fund. Things, well, and the things that the state says they want to fund, like the ESL, like basic skills, ethnic studies, art, music. These are things that that San Franciscans value. You must keep this college able to provide educational opportunities in all of those areas for those that would benefit from it.
Well, the college will not be getting rid of the ESL programs. That I can assure you.
Well, there's completely downsizing them.
Okay. Well, let me, I know Deputy Chancellor Gonzalez had been lobbying for that funding for some time. I'm going to ask Deputy Chancellor Gonzalez if she can give us some clarification on the type of lobbying that City College of San Francisco had done.
I'm talking about the city level, not the state. So if
at the city level, yeah, at the city
okay,
level.
thank you.
Right.
Well, actually, there was lobbying at all levels, and I mean all levels, local, state, federal.
I'm specifically asking about city.
So with the city, what you should be hearing Dr. Vurdien say is, yes, this administration is still committed to that, and we will reconfirm with the board. You know, there was a lot of work that went into, a lot of really good work that went into redesigning Chef and DeWerf, right? And so in addition to meeting with various supervisors and the labor groups, there was also the Mayor's Economic Recovery Task Force that John Halpin, you know, our own John Halpin was instrumental in participating in, so that we can use, really hear how, and you've heard me say this before, that, you know, City College is the linchpin to economic recovery for the city. You know, I mean, the kind of programs that we have are unique to us. It's not the four-year institutions, not the K-12. And, you know, it's rather disappointing that we had to ratchet down from the initial 45 million, I thought it was, down to 30. And then we was like, hey, let's just treat this as a pilot program, 15 million. And that was not accepted. But I don't think we start all over. I think we take the work that was done in putting together the work. They were specific to the needs, I think, of the city, and continue our efforts.
There's one more thing I will add to that. Okay, now, bear with me and listen. Let me finish explaining it to all of you. City College of San Francisco is surrounded by what is known in California as basic aid districts. Those are the districts that, because of their tax base, they receive an additional $25 to $45 million every year on top of what they would get, with or without students. Okay, you got Marine is basic aid, West Valley Mission is basic aid, San Mateo is basic aid. If I'm not mistaken, Futildianza is basic aid. No, Futildiana is not basic aid, I'm being told, right?
No, but they're still.
Okay. So think about all those basic aid districts. They're getting all that money, right? So you can apply to be a basic aid district. There is a state formula. You either become it based on that formula that the state checks, or you are not a basic aid district. When I look at the city of San Francisco, I see huge amounts of money that the city uses. If the city considers the college to be that important to the development of the city, one thing that we should be able to do is lobby the city so that instead of becoming a statewide basic aid based on the data that the state uses and the formula that the state uses for districts like Marin, San Mateo, West Valley Mission, in Southern California, South Orange County,
So I'm
Mira
going to
Costa, and
interrupt
so
you
on.
just because I do think, you know, I appreciate what you're saying about the basic aid, and we are not a basic aid district, and that's actually totally out of our control.
No. What I'm saying is we could lobby the city.
Yes, and that's exactly what I'm asking you to do.
Oh,
And,
I will do. I mean,
and
I could try a little bit, but I got only 3 months left here.
okay,
So
but
we could
in your
lobby
last
the
3
city.
months do it, but I also think it's important for you to realize that you need to go to the city in collaboration and partnership and realize that the reputation of the administration at City College of San Francisco is not such that they are willing to work with you. So you've got to be a lot more persuasive than you've been in the past. And that's why I'm encouraging
I
you
met with the
to
mayor twice.
collaborate, you, not just you as City College administration, to collaborate with the faculty union, which is already doing that work and has built those bridges and has that trust. And with other community partners, perhaps the Affirmative Action Task Force, which is starting that research center for the African American studies. You know, they've made some really good connections. So I'm saying work with groups that have already gotten those good connections in bridges. Thank you.
All right, next up, we got Patrick. Patrick, go ahead. You can unmute yourself.
Okay, thank you. And I'd like to thank you again for these meetings. They're very helpful. Just a couple of questions regarding the Diego Rivera theater building. Is there any change in the square footage or the budgeting for the building from the last board meeting? And
77,000 square feet.
okay, that answers that question. Thank you. And I'd like to know, when will we know more about the process of developing or picking these new teams? I mean, I feel that the process is a huge part of, you know, how we're actually going to get to the end of the road.
On the 29th of March, we will have a list of teams of builders and designers that will have submitted their application, their proposal. They in turn will receive information from us so that they will have 4 weeks to send to us their cost proposal. And then at that point, we're going to pick a team before the end of June.
How is the team being picked? That's part of it.
Oh, there is a committee. There is a committee that is set up at the college, the facilities committee. They will identify the 3 finalists, and then the board subcommittee, the facilities subcommittee of the board, and I will have an opportunity to interview the 3 finalists and then pick the building and design team that will work on that building.
So is this the building user group you're talking about? Is that the team that's going to help?
Vice Chancellor Alamin, is that the team?
It will be a selected shortlist work group consisting of the building user group and facility consultant staff in order to make go through the bid documents that we receive from the individual groups in order to make recommendations, a short list of recommendations to the chancellor, to the board.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, next up we have Kevin. Kevin, go ahead, unmute your mic.
I heard that some stimulus package money from the 1.9 trillion could go somehow to City College. Could you tell me if that's true or not? And I heard you talking about interviews, but you're laying people off. Could you explain that?
The 1.9 trillion package, the share that is coming to City College is $28.9 million, as I mentioned earlier on. Half of that money, that is about 14.5 million, have to go directly to students. And the remaining 14.5 or so, there are specific criteria established by the federal government on how that money can be spent. As far as the viewing is concerned, there were positions that had been eliminated, and a few positions that had not been eliminated needed to be staffed. Otherwise, the work of the college will not be done, and there will be more problems cropping up. So that's what that interview was for.
Okay, thank you.
All right, next up we have Leslie, go ahead and unmute your mic.
Great, thank you. And thanks for taking our questions. Mine is pretty specific. I want to go back to something that you said, the year that sections were added, and I don't remember which year it was, and you said we ended up with 50 FTEF less. You said there was enrollment outreach that was done. So my question is, what was the enrollment outreach that was done that year? What year was it? So what was the enrollment?
Vice Chancellor Bogle, can you provide that information? I think it was 18-19.
I believe you're referring to the 2018-19 academic year. And we had a variety of outreach efforts. I'd have to, in that year, I know that, we including, mailing a brochure out to every residence in San Francisco. I think we did that 3 times that year. And I'd have to go back and do some specific research on the specific outreach efforts that we did that year. That was a couple of years ago.
Right. If it's possible, if you could actually send that to me, I can send you an email to ask you to do that. I'd love to know what the specifics were. Yeah.
Sure. I'd have to do that up.
Okay. Thank you.
Happy to do so. Thanks, Leslie.
All right, next up, we got Yan. Yan, why don't you go ahead, unmute your mic. You can go ahead and speak now. Yan, if you're there, you can unmute your mic and go ahead. All right, we'll go to the next person then. We'll come back to Yan. Richard, why don't you go ahead, unmute your mic, go ahead.
Thank you. I know that friends of mine who teach at other colleges around San Francisco are going to open their campuses. USF is going to open completely, and San Francisco State is going to open. All the high schools are going to open. Why are we not opening in the fall?
We are working on that item right now, and Vice Chancellor Bogle explained earlier on some of the steps we are taking before that final decision is made as to whether there will be on-campus classes and what percentage of the courses will be offered on campus and what percentage will be remote.
One problem is our enrollment's gone down because students don't like taking classes online and through Zoom. And if we open the campus, we'd have a lot more enrollment.
We are doing everything we can. Is there anything you want to add to that, Vice Chancellor Bogle?
I think the only thing I'd add to that is that we are following the guidelines of the San Francisco Department of Public Health. I know we are all. I don't want to speak for everybody here, but I think we're all anxious to see that vaccination happens and happens throughout our faculty, staff, and student population, and that vaccination has the impact that we are anticipating it will have. It is important for us also to, and while we are all concerned about enrollment, it is also important for us to stress public health.
Well, are San Francisco State and USF not following the guidelines? They're opening completely in the fall.
Again, I think what we, in the meetings that we're having with the Department of Public Health, while they are saying that they are opening, they are, I think they are going to have a similar pattern to what we're having in the fall. And we're, honestly, I'm working with my colleagues in other Bay Area community colleges. We're all pretty much in the same boat of having, a balance between remote instruction and in-person instruction.
Thank you.
All right, well, to go back to Yan, why don't you try to unmute your mic again, Yan, if you are there. If not, we'll move on to the next person again. Yan, one more time. All right, moving on to the next person. Harry, go ahead and unmute your mic. You're up.
Okay, I am unmuted. Thank you, Chancellor. You said in a previous occasions, and you said again today, that you are transparent and open. So I'm going to just bring up a couple things. One, at an earlier forum, open forum last fall, and Rosie will help me get access to that information to verify it. You deferred an answer about the cancellation of the DBE McCarthy. I'm sorry I missed most of your initial statement today, but you said you would talk about it several months later, either February or March. But you also said that the termination of the contract would not delay the 2023 opening of the Diego Rivera Theater. Now suddenly you're saying that it was never going to open in 2023. The document that the Facilities Committee saw the 5-year, I think, update, and it still has the 2023-2024 timeframe. Another
You want me
thing,
to address that, Mr. Bernstein?
if you want to.
I do not know how that building could have opened in 2023.
Why did you promise it?
I never promised 2023.
I
I'm not
believe
sure
you did. I believe you did. I mean, it's water.
Well, I'm sorry if I did say that, but that must have been a slip or something, because there was no way that that building could have opened in 2023.
There was
The
one way.
earliest, if
There was-
nothing had happened in November, the earliest that the plan for that building could have gone to DSA for approval was going to be the end of fall 2021. DSA takes a full year to review, which means that we would not have received approval to start that building until December of 2022 or January of 2023. Probably we said breaking ground in spring of 2023. There was absolutely no way in the world, unless there was a miracle, for that building to open. The earliest that the groundbreaking could have taken place was spring 2023.
How
That
could
would
you
have been the
possibly?
earliest.
How could you possibly forget about the contract for the Diego Rivera mural? The whole point of making that arrangement was to have a completed building for the display of the mural. There was never any talk until last month about that it would need to be stored for 2 or 3 years, and that might cost $2 million, $4 million, $5 million, money that we do not have. I think you are rewriting history, sir.
Well, Mr. Bernstein, I'm very sorry about that. I inherited a problem that was caused by the college. I said to you earlier on in my presentation that the Diego Rivera Theater has been in construction, or work has been going on it since March of 2005. That's 16 years to date. So you cannot assign that blame on me.
But you are the
There
one
isn't
who
it, okay?
you are the one who terminated the contract.
Well,
and
when
you
I
have
see
not-
something wrong, I
and you
take
have
care
not
to
explained
fix
it.
it.
What?
When I see something wrong going on, I take care to fix it. That's
Then
why
you were
I
going
was
to-
hired.
You were going
by
to
the board.
explain it. You were going to explain it. And
I
so
cannot
waiting-
explain everything to everybody because there are legal issues involved in many things that we do.
Well, you need to explain it to someone because the departments that are involved with those programs are
Someone
being
can
left.
only be the board. The board is the only one that can hear that because of legal issues involved.
Did the board instruct you to terminate the?
I do not answer these questions because these are questions that are governed by confidentiality rules. That's privileged information that you do not have access to.
Okay. The other thing that I believe you have never followed up on is I believe you promised to tell us about, after consulting for several months with the legal team, report on the allowable use of the bond funding. Can it be used for rental, for lease, for purchases off-site? This has been brought up partly in relation to the airport program. In other words, could some of the bond money be used to build a building or to find a site, since that's an active process right now? And it also came up regarding the 1550 Evans Education Building. And now the PUC has found a different way. Now they are going to give City College some of the land there in exchange for the bond money. They couldn't do it any other way, apparently. And that was done very last minute at the last meeting, not very transparently.
Well, the board meeting was public. The documents were public.
The last minute you brought that up, and it said that the college would get that, would obtain it. And it turns out after the fact that it's only the first of many hearings. It's a request to the city to provide that the change of ownership. That was not transparent. It was not clear, and it was done with minimal discussion and clarity. The letter of intent also was something that you were going to talk about that you've known about since September from the PUC.
I don't know what letter of intent you're referring to. All I can say to you is
the one that you talked about. I will send it to you, sir.
All I can say to you is that the college at the last board meeting passed a resolution explaining that the bond money can only be used for buildings on a property that belongs to the college. Since the 1550 Evans property does not belong to the college, it belongs to the city, and it is being run by the PUC. The college is now requesting that the city turn that property over to the college, and staff currently are working with legal that will be approaching the city with that request. And if that property is turned over, then the district will proceed. That's all I can say to you.
But there's no ownership of the building. Is that what we're to
Mr.
understand?
Bernstein, I think you are creating problems that don't exist. Okay? If we get the property, that building will belong to the college on a property that the city will have ceded to the college. I don't know how I can be clearer than that.
It's new information to me. They've talked about a footprint, nothing about the building. But maybe
Well, I don't know what to say to you, Mr. Bernstein. All I can say to you is if the city turns over the property to the college will build the building and it will belong to the college. I cannot put it in simpler language than that.
there was a long agreement that the college would build the building and not own anything.
Well, I mean, if that's your understanding, maybe you understand it better than I do.
I thought it was
That's
a
all I
very
can say
poor
to you.
idea, not my idea. Okay, well, thank you for taking the time and trying to explain some of these things. Sir, do you write your own weekly letter?
I have Ms. Zepeda who writes for me.
Oh, so it's a collaborative project in some way.
Now, mostly I would say I would give all credit to Ms. Zepeda because she's a fantastic writer. She has done a wonderful job, and she has shared a lot of information with the college, and she's working on multiple projects. And I want to commend her for the work that she does at the college.
I think she should share your byline, but thank you for telling me that. I know she had to take a week off because she's overcommitted, but I hope
Well, I
she's
think
well.
everybody, Mr. Bernstein, everybody is entitled to vacation time at some
I'm
point.
not holding anything against her. I'm not saying she shouldn't have done that. I say she shouldn't be overworked, though. Okay.
Duly noted. Thank you for that, Mr. Bernstein.
All right, we have time for one last quick question. Joey, go ahead.
Thank you. Sorry, I for some reason I wasn't able to continue speaking whenever I asked my first question. Chancellor, I feel you were very defensive when I asked about what you are doing, and I understand that you have been with the college for a limited amount of time, and obviously no one would ask you what have you done for us already in the first 30, 60 days. But 9 months in is a long time to continue to defer and say that you don't need to address this because you are a temporary chancellor. I do wonder, why aren't we addressing the state funding and the city funding to make it more sustainable for the school? Because obviously a community college is not just for degrees, it is for the enrichment of our community and for lifelong learning. And I just don't know what you're doing for that, being that you just angrily deferred my question.
Well, I will say to you, that problem did not occur overnight. It takes time to understand what the problem is. It takes time to identify what it is that has to be done to fix the problem. Just getting money, one-time money to fix it like that is not going to do anything.
And that's not what I'm arguing for. I definitely think we need a sustainable model, but in the last 3 months that you have left, what are you planning on doing to work towards that sustainable model, rather than throwing the school into a death spiral by having
I am not the one throwing the school in a death spiral, Mr. Nelson. I'm not the one throwing the school in a death spiral.
But you're continuing the last 3 years.
I am not. I am trying to fix it. The school has to start with, I think you do understand that the state sees the school as a school that can serve no more than 18 to 20,000 students. The state sees the school as a school that should not have more than about 180 full-time faculty. Okay, that's what the state sees the school. But the school has 555 full-time faculty. Okay. So that
how are you going to address the state to make it so that they see what the school should be, rather than trying to make
the charter governing community
colleges?
Thinks. The community colleges are funded by the state. If the city thinks that they should fund the college, well, the city should step forward. If the city thinks that that city college is so important to its economy and its development, then the city should step forward and give the college money.
Are you making impassioned pleas to the city to do that? Because I feel like
we've asked them.
Yours and the trustees' major job right now.
We've asked them, and they said no. I don't know what they've told you, but we've asked them, and they said no. I have personally asked the state. I have had multiple conversations with the state chancellor, with the Department of the Treasury. You probably don't know, and they've all said exactly the same thing. City College will learn to live within its means. That's what they've said, that they were not going to lift a little finger to bail out City College again. In 2012, they gave City College $350 million. What did City College do with the money? Okay, you have to think about all that. All right? It's like I said to you, this is not a problem that occurred overnight. That's all I will say to you.
No,
you may not like my answer. You may not like my answer, but that is the answer. The only thing that can be done now is to proceed with the plan that I had the board approved in November of last year, a multi-year budget and enrollment management plan. The board then directed administration to implement the plan. And that's the plan that is being implemented right now.
I just see from my perspective as a student, talking to other students, we are having more difficulty being able to sign up for our classes, not just because of the issues of the systems, but actually because the classes aren't available. I have students that have signed up for classes and had the classes pulled out and canceled under them before, when they had more than 20 students in them.
Mr. Nelson, let me say something to you.
It's hard to earn our degrees and get our
Let me say something to you about getting classes. Our fill rate, which means that when all the sections that we offer are not full, they are filled at about 75% capacity. That's about it, which means that there are 25% of seats available in most classes. Okay, and Vice Chancellor Bogle can give you more information on that. Right? So we have to learn to schedule efficiently so that we can serve our students better. That's what we are working on doing right now, right? And I do apologize to you if
Well, I'd
I
love to
can't
see
do any
that.
better than that.
I mean, I
That's
think
all.
we're
That's
all
the
for
best I can do
efficiency,
for
but
that.
we're also for having equitable school that makes it so that everyone can attend and we can get degrees in the different things we need, and that the departments that are hit aren't, especially the ethnic studies and other historically departments that historically serve minority groups. And we're just seeing all sorts of things happen that are incredibly disappointing in the way that these downsizes have been performed.
All I can say to you is that the commitment has been made not to eliminate a single program. Okay. All the programs that you have here, you mentioned ethnic studies, labor studies, any studies, we are not eliminating anything. And Vice Chancellor Bogle can reassure you of that. We're not eliminating anything. We're keeping everything. Okay. Well, I thank you very much for participating in that and for asking your questions today. And I look forward to seeing you again next month in April. And have a good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much.